Alright, hello everyone. The first skill a judge should focus on is the note taking process during a round. Now, there is a lot of material that can be said during a 7-minute speech, and it's quite easy to fail to capture, process, evaluate, and remember each and everything that is said for 8 different speeches. We're all human, and it gets very tiring to continuously judge lots of rounds. So, note taking is an exercise in condensing this material and making it easier for you to judge the round actively instead of passively. After all, judges are not expected to be transcribers or stenographers. Rather, they're expected to, at the very least, be disciplined in making efficient notes that they can reference when they are justifying their decision. So in this video, I will cover some of the tips that I would like to share when it comes to note taking. First, find a way. The way a judge would take notes is very different from how a debater in the middle of a round would take notes. Now, if you were a debater, you would be looking out for points to respond to, and your notes would serve the purpose of helping you improve the quality of your own speech. A whip would take notes so that they can later respond and organize these points for the specific purpose of forwarding the extension of their closing theme. However, if you were a judge, your notes all serve the purpose of helping you decide the round later on. And individually, this purpose can be achieved through the different functions of notes. Notes can be used to help you remember how an argument was presented. Notes can help you track the evolution of responses across multiple speakers. And notes can help you process these points into different issues and conditions for winning a round. The point of this is that you don't want to write notes passively for the sake of writing down notes, or for the sake of looking like you're writing down notes, or for the sake of writing down whatever a speaker is saying. You want to write down portions of a speech so that even if you don't know if it will eventually be relevant or game-changing, you at least have it captured with the specific purpose of utilizing it later on in your decision-making process. Second, you should pay particular attention to the key phrases and the specific way a team argued a particular point. Not only, in my opinion, is it a good practice in general to use the language that teams use when referencing their arguments to avoid being accused of stepping in, it is also very helpful for your note-taking process to box and highlight key portions of a speech in the specific way that it is presented so that you can break it down for what it's worth instead of just conjuring it up from your short-term memory, which can often be unreliable. And this is something that judges need to identify and learn to discern because there are multiple parts in a speech, but only some parts are very, very more relevant than everything else in the speech. This is particularly helpful in panel discussions, in my opinion, when you want to stay on the same page with the other judges, because at least here, if you're capturing the key phrases, you have specific phrases that you can anchor onto and utilize when you are discussing the particular arguments with other judges. And third, since it is often too late to evaluate arguments at the end of the entire round, you should already be noting down your thoughts and comments at different points of the debate. These annotations, which I usually write in a different color of pen and on the side of a page, can serve different purposes. What is the key contingency of this argument? Where is this response successful? And where is it unsuccessful against another argument? It's okay if these thoughts are not completely well thought out yet. The point is that you want to be actively thinking and writing out your thoughts because your thoughts through the round will make it easier for you to reference pivotal points in which you are making critical decisions that would determine whether certain teams win over others, because you are making the decision as the round goes on. And when you finalize that decision later on, once the debate is over, it becomes easier for you to reference these decision points that you made and these annotations that you were making throughout the entire round. This is so that you have something to work with, so that if you've already partially processed these things, you don't have to work from scratch and just work with general notes like as it was written. Now, the annotations make it easier for you to pinpoint those particular critical points. And lastly, I would recommend creating your own system to synthesize and connect the different points in a round. The simplest technique that I used to use back then was to simply draw thin arrows to connect particular responses against other arguments in a round, or whenever there was a POI engagement from a particular team, I would segment it into a particular portion of the notes so that it becomes easier for me to note when a POI was raised and which team raised it, and how they responded and how this incorporates itself into the different arguments that are being presented at the moment. So here, you want to also create your own system. Like you could also, for example, put different shorthand asterisks and exclamation points to signify particularly strong and critical arguments in a round that I would definitely need to reference back to in the justification for my decision. Of course, in all of these, simplicity is usually much better here, and you'll get better at it once you find a system that works for you and once you've practiced it for multiple debate rounds already. My only tip here is that you don't want to make a system that is too constraining, or you want rather to make a system that is flexible enough for you to see the connections, but at the same time still realize that issues can interact with one another in more ways than what your system allows for. So the point here is that you simply want to make it easier on your mind to read back on your notes. When you are referring back to the notes of the debate, you don't want to read it in a way that is simply chronologically or linearly. You want to read back your notes in an active way through the connections that you were making, through the different issues and engagements that were relevant during the round. And that makes it easier for you to make the decision. You don't want to track an engagement all the way from the beginning. You want to track it using the annotations and the system that you created so that it's easier for you to reference these particular contentions against one another. You should always go back to contentions in a way that utilizes your system, because this is what will save the most time for you. Alright, I think that should be it for today's video. Thanks for watching and have a great day.